Hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Chrissy, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful blouse. This is an off-shoulder bustier with a stylish sleeve. Okay, so I recreated this for my client. As you can see, I also have a tutorial on how to make the beautiful skirt you're seeing right here. So let's dive right into today's tutorial. So guys, I've already gone ahead to draw out the basic line. So the first line was the shoulder line. I'll label as shoulder line. This is the chest line. This is the bust point. Here is the under bust, and last line was the top length. The next thing I did was to mark the waistline because I noticed I didn't mark it. So I came down by 18 in. This is my client's waistline. So I went ahead to make a straight line across. Then I'll label as waistline. Once I'm through with that, I'll cut out the excess. Okay, so after that I'm going to mark half of her nipple to nipple. Her nipple to nipple was 8 inch. Half of it I marked 4 inch. I marked this on the top line, the waistline, bust point, chest line, and under bust. So I will use my ruler to connect those points to give me a straight line. So once I'm through with this, on the side I'm going to mark 2 inch on the waistline. I'll do the same thing on the under bust, then repeat the same thing on the top length. So on the side going towards the center front, I marked half an inch on the top length, the waistline, and under bust. Okay, once I'm through with this, I will connect those points to give me a straight line. I'm going to use my marker to make both lines very visible, just like this. Okay, the next thing you want to do after marking is from the bust point, please come down by 1 inch. So I already done that, and I'll use my curve rule to connect those points just like this. You can see my cup is already taking shape gradually. So I measure what I had there on the shoulder. It was 6 inch, so I marked 3 inch. That's the midpoint. Then I had to connect from there to the chest line. After that, on this side going towards the center front, I marked half inch, and on this side going towards the armhole, I marked 2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to use my curve rule again to connect from there to my bust point, to the bust point. So once I'm through with that, guys, you can see what I have here. The next thing I want to do now is to determine the length I want for her off shoulder. So from the shoulder to the chest line, I have 8 inch. So from the chest line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Okay, so the 1 inch I came down by is where I will connect the sweetheart neckline. If you want yours very deep, you can come down by any inch or whatever inch you want. Okay, next thing I want to do now is to make the curve for this other side. So I'm going to connect below the chest line. So after making those curves, next thing I want to do now is to include the measurement. So you are going to mark quarter of your bust circumference, replace the dart you have at the upper part. On the waistline, mark quarter of your waist circumference, replace the dart you have there as well. And after that, you're going to come down here on the top length. You're going to mark quarter of your hip circumference and also replace the dart you have. Okay, so on this part, I'm going to measure what I had there. It was 2.5 inch. So I later marked 1.5 inch because my pattern paper was not enough. So I'm going to complete the allowances plus the normal seam allowance when transferring to the actual fabric. Do you get? So after I was done marking and connecting everything, next thing I will do is to come up by 2.5 inch on this side. You can see the blouse we are working with has this kind of shape, like it has a curve at the side. So I marked 2.5 inch and the later came up by 3 inch. So you can mark 3.5 inch, you can mark 3 inch, you can mark 2.5 inch. It depends on how curved you want it to be. So once I'm through with that, I'll cut it out. I'll go ahead and cut all the darts.
Don't fight the fire. Too much, too fast. So burn us out. We walk the wire.
After cutting, guys, you can see what I have here. Next thing I want to do is to close up the dart, and I'll use my pin to pin them in place. Okay, so after pinning with my pin, I'm going to cut the back pattern. Okay, so this is the back pattern. I've already marked 1 inch for the zip allowance, so I'll place the front pattern this way and also pin with my pin. I will hold the both pattern papers with my pin. So after pinning, what I'm going to do now is to trace the side. Okay, I'll use my ruler to trace the side. Then I will trace the hem side as well. Okay, you're going to trace the hem part just like this, and also stop at this side. So connect from there. You can decide to make it slanty, or you come down a little bit for the back neckline. So once I'm through with that, I'll place the front pattern paper again, and I'm going to extend the waistline to the zip allowance. Okay, so after extending the waistline to the zipper allowance, I'm going to subtract half inch on this side, and I'm going to connect from there to this point, do the same thing on this other side. So this is to remove or to avoid any form of zipper bulge. Okay, so I labeled as back, and I'll go ahead and cut it out just like this.
Two sparks ignited. We left some space for us.
After cutting, you can see what I have here. Can you see? So the next thing I want to do is to transfer all the space to the actual fabric. Okay, so I've transferred all the pics to the actual fabric, and also include the allowances needed. Okay, both the sewing allowance and seam allowance. So on the center front, I gave half an inch space because it has the blouse we are working with has joining at the center. That's the style actually. Okay, so because of that, I added half an inch here. So after slashing, I'll go ahead and sew. Okay, I'll also repeat the same thing on the lining as well. This is the lining. I will slash into two, then go ahead and sew with quarter of an inch. So I've gone ahead to sew, guys. After sewing, you can see what I have here on the center front. Next thing I want to do is to iron the seam opening and also iron my egg stay. So I've gone ahead to iron my seam opening and also the egg stay. So this is my wording, have already cut it out. So the notch I made here is just the underbust. Go ahead and make a notch on your underbust. That is where your padding or wording will end or stop. Okay, after ironing my wording on all the cups, you can see what I have here. Next thing I want to do is to join these three peaks. So I've gone ahead to join the three peaks and also iron the seam opening. I did the same thing on the lining as well. So the next thing I want to do is to turn the fabric the right side. I'm going to place the lining right side facing each other this way. Then I'll head over straight my sewing machine and sew only the neckline for now. After sewing, guys, you can see what I have here. I also made notches on the neckline. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now is to place my hemming gum. I'm going to place the hemming gum this way. After placing, I'll go ahead and iron. So the purpose of ironing an hemming gum on your neckline is to avoid the lining popping out on your neckline after sewing. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and arrange the lining this way, then go ahead and iron it out. Okay, so I've gone ahead to iron. You can see what I had here after I was done. The next thing I did was to trim the excess lining I had on both sides and also on the down part as well. So after trimming, I'm going to place these right sides facing each other. Then I'll start my sewing from the down part. I'll sew with half inch. Okay, I'm going to sew the down part with half an inch. After sewing, I'm also going to sew the side and do the same thing on the other side. But when making your stitch, ensure you leave space so you can turn it outside right after sewing. Okay, so this is where I turned my outside right, as you can see. Next thing I want to do is to iron this blouse. I'm going to iron and I will be right back. After ironing, guys, you can see what I have here. So I'm going to keep this aside, then I'll work on the back piece. So this is the back piece. The back piece is very simple to sew. Just place your lining right side facing each other, then start your sewing from the down part using half an inch. Do the same thing on the upper part, repeat the same thing on both sides. Ensure you leave space so you can turn it outside right. So I've done that on both piece. You can see what I had here. I also made stitches on both sides. Next thing I want to do is to attach this zip. So I'm gonna ahead to attach the zip. The zip I made use of is those one that has opening. Okay, so make use of that kind of zip. So the next thing I want to do now is to shape the both side of this blouse. So you place it the right sides facing each other, then go ahead and shape. After shaping, guys, you can see what I have here. So the next thing I want to do now is to place my tape. So I'm going to place this tape on the underbust. My client underbust was 16 and a half. This is 16 and a half, and the off shoulder I had here was 8 inch. So I'm going to use the 8 inch for the sleeve length. So I'll cut times 2 of the 8 inch, which is 16 inch for both front and back. Next thing I want to do is to place my tape from the center front. So I will measure from the neckline. I'll mark 6 inch. I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So the 6 inch I mark is where I'll be attaching the sleeve. So on this side, I'm going to mark 1 inch. Then I'll spot it out on the back piece. Okay, you mark 1 inch. Then on the other side, I'm also going to mark the same 1 inch on the other side. So this is where the sleeve would stop. After doing the same thing on this other side, what I'm going to do is to keep the blouse aside, then I'll work on the sleeve. So this is the sleeve. The sleeve length is 16 inch. I added extra 1 inch for sewing allowance, and the wideness I have here is just 9 inch. You can make yours 8 inch if you want, and it's on a fold. Now I'm going to bring the blouse, then I'll place the sleeve on the 1 inch I marked, then I'll make a pleat. I'll pin it down with my pin. I'll make another pleat, then also pleat again. Okay, I'll stop the last pleat on the 6 inch I marked from the neckline. So after pinning, you can see what I have here. Next you want to do is to open your back zip so it will be easier for you. After opening, place the other side of the sleeve on the 1 inch you marked. Go ahead and make your pleat and pin. Okay, then also pleat again. You're going to make like 3 pleats or 4 pleats. It depends on where you marked and how open or wide you want it to be. So I've gone ahead to pin. After pinning, I'm going to stitch this with 1/2 inch. Okay, I'll do the same thing for the other side. So after stitching, you will have something looking like this. Repeat the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. After attaching this sleeve, I will be right back. Okay, so guys, I've attached the sleeve. I did the same thing on the other side. You can see what I had here after I was done. Okay, so this is how you go about the making of this beautiful blouse, and we have actually come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one.